there's a lot of great information they bring to me from what they've heard elsewhere. That's fantastic. But unfortunately, the one big one that I'm constantly hearing is I'm being told if I have an ad that's underperforming, oh, don't worry, it'll work. Give it a week, give it some time, let it build, let it grow. Absolutely not.
All right, welcome LabCoatAgents. It looks like we're live on Facebook. Hopefully the timing works out well. Sometimes that gets a little bit out of sync, but we're here today. Brian Curtis with Creative Coaching and Consulting and LabCoatAgents, and talking to Markus and Logan from StreetText again. And we're going to talk about some seller lead generation. I can't imagine this isn't one of the most popular things that is going on in the real estate world. Every person I talk to asks me the same question: how do I get more sellers? So we're here to answer that question. So I'll pass it over to you guys, whichever one of you guys wants to start off this morning. Tell us about what we're going to talk about today.
Go ahead, Markus.
Logan, I'll defer to you on this one to start.
There's a plethora of different ways to acquire listings, and one of the things that we're finding right now is actually quite the opposite of what you might expect. I'm here in a small part to talk about buyer leads. And that's right now, what we're finding is roughly 60% of all incoming buyer leads that we're seeing right now have an asset to sell. Specifically ones, and what I'm kind of leaning my clients down the pathway of is new construction, and understanding what type of clientele is purchasing new construction homes, or at least intrigued with new construction. And my own personal experience, it is the more established clientele. It's the demographic I'm typically looking for. It's people who own an asset, typically. Not a lot of people are starting off with new construction, right? Typically that's an advancement in that strategy. So for me, I've been finding that is just one of a plethora of ways to locate people who have assets to sell. Obviously we have here at StreetText a number of different options, and getting things set up in such a way that you're seeing the success immediately. And this is something that I always bring it back to is, in order to find sellers, in order to find buyers, in order to find who you're looking for, you need to have cost-effective ads, period. And one of the worst pieces of advice I'm constantly hearing being given, my clients will come to me and say, oh, this is what I'm being told elsewhere. And there's a lot of great information they bring to me from what they've heard elsewhere. That's fantastic. But unfortunately, the one big one that I'm constantly hearing is I'm being told if I have an ad that's underperforming, oh, don't worry, it'll work. Give it a week, give it some time, let it build, let it grow. Absolutely not. The only way to find cost-effective leads is to understand that you're doing a series of short sprints, right? You're split testing. You're doing very short 24-hour periods. I'm gonna have to go through the comments here. I'm sure they're great. Everybody's laughing here. It's fantastic.
We're just talking about you, Logan. You keep
going. That's what I assumed as much. That's fantastic. As long as everyone's having fun, we're good. But again, don't run an ad for a week and then determine its success or failure. You can know within the first 24 to 48 hours if an ad's working or not. And once you find that one that's working, then you sit back and let it go. So statistically speaking, it's very important that first 24 to 48 hours is there, but also your audience demographic is being set up at that same moment as well. So after you find the one that statistically is performing well, be sure to then get in and look at that audience demo, and whether you're running buyer's ads or seller's ads or whatever, get in contact with these individuals. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone, call them. Don't be aggressive. Make sure that you understand the angle you're coming from in the first conversation you're having with them. For instance, we have one ad right now that's working really well. That's a take on a blog post kind of style article, tips you need to know before selling. And I won't give you guys all the secrets until you come and join StreetText, of course. But the general idea with this one is that it's a very light angle. And the biggest issue that people have had is their follow-up by saying, hey, do you want to sell your home? You clicked on my thing, and they're getting a response back they're getting is, I just asked for 12 tips. Like, whoa, leave me alone. The ones who are doing fantastic with it have a completely different angle and a different approach, and it's helpful and value laden, right? It's, hey, I wanted to make sure you got that article I sent you, right? Did you receive that? Yes. Did you have any questions on that? Okay, great. Now let's solve for X. And X is, hey, do you want me to come and sell your home? Right? So it's a gentle pathway that always gets you there, but again, we've got a ton of different angles and options that are proving to work. And even though you guys are primarily sellers agents, I'm going to have to assume most agents, this day and age are, if they're still in business, obviously, don't discount buyers leads right now. Typically buyers leads are, I'd say they're always okay, but right now there's a lot of buyers who have assets to sell, right? So consider altering your angle a little bit. Look at these blog style, post article style ads, buyers ads, look at a little bit of everything, short series of tests. Markus, you want to elaborate on that a little bit? Or Brian, sorry, you had something you want to say?
Yeah, let me just, I want to repeat something that you said, and it's very important. Markus put it in the chat, and I'm going to say it out loud again, and that's how important it is. 60% of buyers are sellers, is what you said. You said it a little bit more, articulate, but that's what it breaks down to. 60% of buyers are also sellers. So potentially, and I don't know if you guys have math on this, but just ballpark this for me. The cost of a buyer lead versus a seller lead in StreetText, you got a ballpark 10%, 20%, 50%, like what kind
I'd
of
say
percentage?
on average, buyer leads are between $3 and $5. Seller leads, and this is phone numbers when
Average,
we
yeah,
calculate
yeah.
that. If I'm taking a full lead, I would say buyer leads are probably somewhere between $3, $4, $5. Seller leads, I would say somewhere between 5 and 8, give or take.
Okay. So it's not out of its whack. So like if you look at other platforms like Google pay-per-click, they're somewhere in the range of 5 to 6 times more expensive. Well, if you do the math on that, why would I even run a seller ad if I can get 60% buyers? Just, you guys can do the math. I'm not going to do it. But so that's one. And here's the other thing I heard that I wanted to repeat, and I'm going to say it in a different way. Talk to the ad that you ran. And it's so important. Hey, I want to give you this free 12 tips. And the first thing I do is call you and ask you, when do you want to sell your house? It's incongruent. You have to you have to be congruent with your message, or otherwise, what do you come across as? A salesperson. And nobody wants to talk to a salesperson. We're all salespeople. I'm very willing to admit that. But someone wants to talk to a consultant, someone who's there to help them, someone who's a friend. No one wants to be sold anything. So I love that. Talk to the ad that you ran. If you ran a 12 tips, give them the 12 tips. If you ran, I'll sell your house for you, then call them and talk about that. But nobody runs that because that ad doesn't work. So anyway,
Right.
Markus.
One thing before Markus, the acronyms I usually like. I mean, ABC, everybody knows. Always be closing. Always be closing. I actually look at it in a different way. I say TYC, time your close. You can't always be closing. I mean, really, if you're always approaching the close, you're always setting up the close. But I look at it this way: every lead that you ever talk to is standing on the precipice of a cliff. Okay, how they got there, we don't know. But they're standing on the edge of the cliff, and you have a bucket of water that can save their life when it's time for them to jump. If I'm too far away and I say, "Hey, come on, jump," and they miss my bucket, what's the likelihood of them ever trusting me ever again? I'm going to ask them to jump again later. Not a chance. Absolutely not. I got to inch the bucket closer. I'm timing my close. That's the way I look at it. So like you're saying is speak to the ad that you're running. If you're running a home valuation ad, picking up the phone and calling them and saying, "Hey, I didn't get some information," that's different. That I think is that's not overly aggressive. That's coming from a place of service and value and help. Whereas they're coming from a different style of ad that's a little bit softer of an approach. You got to push that bucket closer. You got to text them first. Don't pick up the phone and call them. They're not expecting that. Give them a quick text. "Hey, did you receive what you came for? Can I help you with anything else?" Move that bucket closer and closer and closer until you feel that when they jump, they're going to land in it. Then you ask them to jump.
Awesome. Markus.
Yeah, I don't even know how to follow up on that one. Logan, that was powerful. I want to keep it simple for everybody because we came out, at a mile or 1,000 miles per hour. And for anybody, let's take this a way step back. What StreetText is specifically is we're a lead generation solution. I find that Facebook is the fastest way to build a database. It's to build your pipeline. There's no more cost-effective way to do that than leveraging Facebook accordingly. There's a couple billion people there, but you got to understand first and foremost what Facebook is specifically for. You're using ads to interrupt someone's Facebook newsfeed. So you always got to start from a place of empathy. And that's in your communication style too. So the way I want you to kind of envision this right now is to put yourself on your phone if your phone's available, and go through and click on your Facebook app, because that's where it begins. So don't be the real estate agent for a second, be the homeowner, be the buyer, okay? And recognize that also when you're going to Facebook as a potential buyer or homeowner, you're not there to look for an agent. You're not there to look for anything. Actually, you're just starting to scroll down your feed and you're laughing at people's videos or liking things, commenting on things that are, relevant to you. You're really just wasting time a lot of the time, right? As people do on social media. And the studies show that more than an hour is spent per consumer on social media, even more now with you know, everything that's happened in the pandemic. So it's a place where we all connect, but it also, Facebook recognized that it's a fantastic place to throw in advertising. But the advertising has got to be effective. It's got to stop the scroll. And so what StreetText has done masterfully over the last 6 years is we've become preferred marketing partner with StreetText. We've ran hundreds and hundreds of thousands of ads, developed these data points that show that, you know, for example, one of our seller ad funnels will produce 60 to 70% of every one of those clicks to become a submission of at least an address for a home seller. So with that being said, it works. But the problem is that everybody's looking for the fastest way to generate leads, but that's only 10% of the equation. 10% of the equation is lead generation. Everybody starts with StreetText to say, let's see what you got. Let's generate some leads. And we're like, okay, what do you want? Buyers, sellers, listings, and we have to help them understand sometimes why certain ways are better to go than others. But then masterfully, we have to shift into, okay, then show me what your process looks like. Show me what are the integrations that you might want to consider? What are the scripts and strategies and ways of starting conversations with people who today thought maybe they were clicking on something that was just a free download, 12 seller tips. Or today they were just thinking they were clicking on an ad. In that moment, that was all around what's your home really worth, enter your address, receive your home value. So it made sense at that moment that, you know, they probably magically thought that on the other side of that click was going to be a value that sped out that said their home was worth $549,000, right? Little did they know that there was going to be someone on the other side wanting to communicate with them. So I think it begins there. It's to frame in that mentality. It's not a Zillow lead. It's not a Google SEO lead. It's not people actively looking for your services. It's a lead where you actually have to embrace that you have to come from contribution. You have to learn that it's about using words like there's no obligation, it's free, it's complimentary. You have to learn how to become more of, like Brian was alluding to, a consultant to help align with what their goals are with their equity, with their greatest asset in most cases of their lives. It's an emotional appeal. It's asking questions about them that is not necessarily how many updates or renovations that you've done, but more about connection, more about, hey, what do you love most about your home? And we have a lot of different ways of starting that conversation. But the idea, you know, is, and I'm going to just share my screen real quick. The idea is going from this idea of interrupting their news feed, whether it's learning about their home's equity or whether it's the top 12 tips. And then on the other side of that, recognizing that you need to be there face to face. You need to be there to humanize the process and make that person feel literally in a matter of seconds that when they go to their inbox or they receive a text from you, because that's all automated, that could be your last chance. That could be your only opportunity, because in many ways, people will make their decision in that second. And then you have to backpedal to try to begin the conversation again. So it is a healthy combination of understanding the psychology of winning friends and influencing people through using these type of connections, these type of integrations, the right scripts, the right strategies. It's got to feel genuine too. You know, I can give you all the scripts in the world, but if it feels like you're reading up a prompter, like I'm not a dummy, and none of your consumers are either. So they're going to feel if it feels genuine or not, like you're really there to help and serve. And so I think there's got to be this type of program, especially, is for people that are really of that vibe. They're drivers. You know, I know a lot of real estate agents are DIs, they're drivers, but you also got to come from the compassion side. You got to come from the empathy side. And so even when I help people understand the importance of leading with empathy, you know, like if someone clicks on the ad and you're on the other side, hey, this is Markus with Remax. Thank you so much for clicking my ad. I can only imagine you thought this was an instant market value. What I'm going to do for you is, there's the value, so empathy, value, and then the ask. The ask is going to be small asks. Hey, is there anything you can tell me about your home that would help me really factor in, you know, and then you can ask them a few questions. And then later on, as you start developing that rapport, then it can hopefully go in a direction of asking if they'd like a complimentary walk through the home. And of course, that's where your listing presentation is going to be.
Awesome.
So it's that type of process.
So I'm going to piggyback on what you said. So Markus, I've completely stolen this from you. I don't know if you're the one, I don't know where you got it from. You created it. Interruption marketing. I love that concept. And that's one of the things that people need to understand. And I'll piggyback it with this. No one ever looked at their significant other and said, honey, let's sell our house. What should we do? Oh, let's log on to Facebook. That conversation's never happened. So we have to understand the psychology of how they're getting in front of us. And I love what you do with that. So going back to 60% of all buyers right now are sellers. Let's talk about a little bit of discovery and how you get that information without making it feel like it's an exam that somebody doesn't want. Like, how do we get to those people, have those conversations? What have you guys seen? Because you obviously talked to a lot of great clients who use your product. What have you seen to make sure they get there so that they can take full advantage of that?
Logan?
The way I'd start is always being able to provide what you offer with little friction. So if I'm offering a list of new construction homes, my goal is to get their property listed. That my goal is to determine, do you have an asset you want to sell, and can I sell that property? That's really my underlying goal. But how do I solve for that? Do I say, hey, well, let's not worry about what you came for. Let's get you what I want, right? Absolutely not. It's always service. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set them up on additional services. So, you're looking for pre-construction homes. Great. What else are you looking for? Let me help you find exactly your dream home. I'm going to set them up on MLS. I'm going to set them up on every system that I possibly have so that everything that they've asked for has been answered in spades. And now I'm going to try to peel back the levels of the onion, so to speak. I'm peeling back those layers to figure out what's at that core. But again, you can't just take a knife and chop to the core. I think that's what Markus is saying too, is, and kind of like you were saying, Brian, is always make sure that you understand your original offering and be high on the level of value, and you're providing above and beyond on that one item before you move to the next. And the next item is, do you have a home you want to sell? Great. And again, we look at all the different ad types that we have, and my key offering is always a home valuation, because it's so easy. But there's two that I have to offer you, regardless of whether you're a buyer or seller or whatever originally. I'm going to always angle this in such a way that, hey, do you have an asset you want to sell? Great. Now there's two ways to get a home valuation, essentially. Now, the first way, I'm going to be able to provide you a preliminary report. It's a guesstimate based on whatever you're going to tell me and what I can discover online for myself. Now, understand that it's not trustworthy. It's a guesstimate, it's a placeholder. And I always use verbiage very specific in that nature, where, again, preliminary report, it's a placeholder, it's whatever it is. So for instance, let's just take this all the way back to, it's always about video. It's always about presenting yourself, your personality, your brand. What you can provide them day one in that video response is, in my view, the most important thing that you can possibly do. So for instance, on a typical, say, home valuation ad, my scripted response would be something like this. And understand, I can't say, hey, Brian, it's Logan, yada, 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 because it's an automation. This one email is being sent to every single one of my leads who come through and have identified themselves as owning a property. I'm going to say something like, hey, this is Logan with Remax Downtown Kelowna. You've clicked on my Facebook ad requesting a property valuation. Now, my goal is to provide you the most honest and accurate feedback as to what your home would actually sell for in today's current market. However, as a real estate professional, I hope you understand it's very, very difficult for me to provide a professional opinion of value without seeing your home first for myself, of course. Now, with all that said, you may not be ready to have myself or a realtor over to your property right now. Not a problem. You may be looking for an estimate of value. No worries. Perfectly happy to provide that. Simply reply back to this email with the following questions answered. I'll then be quick to provide you a preliminary report until you're ready to have me over in person for the real deal. Right? So that's the first setup. It's soft, it's approachable, it's nice. There's two options. You can get the quick and dirty. I've already told you can't trust it, but that's fine. Now you can get something. I've lived up to my offer, and now I'm going to come and do the real deal when you're ready. Now, the next thing that I do that differentiates me from my competitors, or whatever you want to call this, something that's always worked well for me, is understanding, kind of Markus was touching on a little bit with the disc profile, understanding the type of individual you're talking to and being able to decipher what side they're on right away. You have statistically driven, and you have emotionally relational. Those, I mean, there's obviously there's four sides of the disc, but I see this as two offshoots. There's the really, statistically driven individuals, and there's emotionally relatable. So what I like to do is figure out which of the two I'm talking to, so I know how to curate my response. The questions I like to ask, there's two, super simple. What's your favorite feature of your home currently? And if you could change any one thing, what would that be? The reason I ask those questions is the first answer I typically get on, what's your favorite feature? That tells me so much of who they are. It also tells me the most marketable feature of their property and gives us something to gush about. Oh, the favorite feature of my home is a double-sided fireplace my wife nursed all 3 of our children in front of. Immediately, I'm going emotional, relational. Now I can kind of, show some empathy. Maybe, empathy isn't the right word for that one, but I can share in that, that happiness. Oh, that sounds phenomenal. We talk family, we talk whatever. Emotionally relational. The other answer to the question I would get is, I bought this home in 2009 during the downturn, and now the equity I've built in it is, what makes me happy. Okay, great. That's fantastic. Well, if selling for top dollar is what you're looking for, the market's at the peak right now. Now's the time. Let's get moving, right? So they're looking for a push in a different direction, whereas the other people are wanting you to empathize and share compassion and share that joy, right? And also, I know personally, one of the co-owners at StreetText here sold his home for considerably less than he was offered, because the one person who offered the most money to him, he didn't think was a good fit for his neighborhood. It wasn't the right fit. Whereas the other couple, it was a new couple, first time buying a home. They had a kid around the same age as when he bought his home originally. So he took about $120,000 less or whatever, because that's just the individual that he is. And he shared that compassion. So people are who they are. And again, I know who I am. I know the kind of clients I want to deal with. So I try to figure out which one they are as soon as possible without being overly obtrusive, right? The second part of that question is, if you could change any one thing, what would it be? Now, again, know that that's their pain point, and digging for pain points in the sales process is one of the hardest things to do, because as soon as you're digging for pain points, you're usually peeling back some rough skin, so to speak. You're making them uncomfortable. That's what digging for pain points really all is. So if you could do it in such a light fashion as, if you could change any one thing about your property currently, what would that be? Well, I wish my home didn't have so many darn stairs. Again, couple that with the fireplace comment. I have an emotionally relational individual who most likely is getting ready for an upgrade downsize. I know so much about them with 2 very simple questions that weren't overly obtrusive and got me everything I'm looking for. Now, did that help me provide them a better home valuation? No. But the only way to get them a better home valuation is for me to be invited into their property. Right? So if I ask them all the questions at the surface, so tell me about your home, tell me this, tell me all these things, now can I get them a better guesstimate of value? Sure. But is that what they need? And is that going to further my goals as well? Absolutely not. So I like to strip down those questions personally to be, let's talk about you and how your home makes you feel. Sounds cheesy, I know, but trust me, that's just the one thing for me that we got to break down these whatever you want to call it, the walls of aggression and over aggressiveness, and just be there for the people. And if they're not ready to sell their home, that's fine. I'm going to still be in real estate. I'm going to be ready to go when they're ready. That's fine. I don't care if it's 3 years from now. Let's figure out who you are. Let's build a relationship so you feel you can trust me with that information. And when you need a true home value, you're inviting me over to your home, period.
So that was awesome. And let me say, you said a whole bunch of stuff in there, and I'm going to go out on a limb, and I don't know this, but we've got well over 100 people watching this webinar right now, and I'm sure people will watch it on the recording. Let me talk about the recording since I'm there. This will be recorded on YouTube, the Lab Coats YouTube channel. So if anybody wants to watch this again, listen to all the great information that Logan and Markus are giving you, we can watch this again on the YouTube channel. We put that in the chat. We'll also post that on Facebook so you can see that as well. Here's my question, and I think it's a pretty simple one. If I haven't said that script 7,000 times like Logan did, because he rattled that script off, that was not the first time he's ever said that. How can I find that? How does that work? Like, how do I know what to say? Because I appreciate everything Logan said, but he's not at my house writing my script. So how do I use that? And tell, basically what I'm saying is talk about the community and how we're here to help each other, because I think that's a very important aspect.
I want to start on that, and I know Markus is going to have a ton to talk about with that, but I think that's the most important aspect of it. Is I just gave you a script that even if you wrote it down, it's probably not perfect for you. You're going to go, yeah, there was a few things he said I didn't like. That's fine. That's great. That's what makes us all individuals. And I don't want everybody to have the exact same script, because then it's going to get tired and boring, and you hear it now, it doesn't feel genuine. It's because everybody's saying the same thing. I think the important thing, and you alluded to it great there, Brian, is we do have a community of collaborative individuals here that we're so proud of, where I can give that script to 30 people, and 30 people will record their own renditions that are more their flavor, and then they can share that information in our insider group. So now one person can come in, instead of hearing my script, they're going to hear 30 variations from 30 different people, and they go, oh, okay, well, cross that off, I didn't like that, cross that off, didn't like that, I love this part and this part and this part. And then what I would recommend you do is script it first. Build yourself a perfect script at first. Don't read from a script for your final version, but script it, put it in front of your camera, and record yourself saying it. Say it time after time after time after time. And then once you can realize where you are struggling, you can realize where you're having your issues, then get rid of the script. You don't need it. After you kind of memorize what you want to say, the taglines, what I then do is, on my computer, you can bring up a notepad, and then you can just put in your structure, not the script, but I want to talk about this, then I want to talk about this, minimize it, make it small, put it right up underneath where your camera is. And then you can just be looking at the camera. And if you're off track at all during your spiel, just look down and be like, oh yeah, I wanted to talk about this next. It's natural. You're not reading a script. You're reading from your memory, right? And you're just giving yourself little prompts that help you. There's all sorts of apps that can do that, but I use a notepad. Super easy. Markus, anything you wanted to add in terms of the community?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the come and see moment that everybody has to have. There's no one way to show you other than you come experience it for yourself. Like, you're experiencing a little bit from us here, but there's another thing to experience it from the agents actually using it. So our masterminds every Wednesday, I just posted the link there. It's an excellent opportunity to come and see people that have been with StreetText for years. Many of the same who are with LCA, and they understand that the top of funnel is a long-term nurture, but it's a relationship first type of program. And we're in a community just like LCA, we're all collaborative. There's no scarcity mindset. There's no one trying to tell you, oh, you can't have this, or, I've actually seen, like, for the example, in Las Vegas, I've seen 3 or 4 of our girls all using StreetText come together. They're doing yoga together. One of them actually joined Wendy's team officially. Like, everybody works collaboratively like that, because Facebook is not a place where you have to worry about exclusivity. You're already running into that 15-mile radius. So if you're looking for a community where everybody shares and gives you ideas and says, hey, this is what I'm doing, I'm using HomeBot here, this is how I'm using, BombBomb, here's how I'm testing the market with Logan and with this ad class, and that's the type of community we have. We don't want to see you just exceed with a good ad. We want to know how to put it all together for you. We want to get your personality in there. We want to show you integrations that will help you. We want to connect with your own CRM. We want to help you use Zapier or email parsing, or, just become proficient in understanding this is a solution that the longer you build it, the more ROI you find, right? Everybody always says, well, what's your ROI? What can I expect on lead conversion? Like, show me your follow-up. Show me your follow-up, and how long are you willing to take this Facebook lead generation journey? If it's a quick fix for you for the next 90 days, I'd probably say hold off. It's not going to be for you. But if you could mentally gear up for the year, I'm going to say get ready and get excited. I have several circumstances of people that their first year, they're really learning, and they get a deal or two, and then all of a sudden it just exponentially just flies off the roof with ROI. It goes from a couple of deals to 10 plus deals, because they've nurtured that relationship. They realized it wasn't about their own timelines, but about their clients' timelines. And they came alongside with them and saying, maybe right now is not the time. And so you just have to be willing to embrace that's the type of leads you'll be working with. Not to say you can't get leads. There will be a lot of leads that you'll just simply click on your ad today. They want to take advantage of this hot market. You've got the listing appointment done tomorrow. That happens, but that's the exception. Majority of leads, they need to see that you're in it for them.
One thing
I think that's the key.
I just want to add real quick on that, just a thought that popped in my head, that remembering kind of, my past career and everything like that. I worked at 3 different brokerages three fantastic offices with great brokers, great communities, great people in you know, like individually. I loved all three offices I worked for, but never once have I ever seen an agent come storming into the bullpen going, hey guys, I figured it out. All right, here's what I'm doing for FSBOs today. You guys got to check my script. Check this out. It's working so great. Never once. Whereas every single day in our insider group, somebody has had an epiphany and they can't wait to share. And I'm sure, you know, we go through the LabCoatAgent stuff all the time, and the information that's being shared within this group is absolutely fantastic. And this is essentially, you know, why we do these partnerships is we want to partner with companies that have people that are of the same mindset. And like Markus is saying, don't come from a place of scarcity. It's always from a place of abundance. And when you have that one thing that worked for you, the ability to come and share that with like-minded individuals who you know aren't necessarily just in your backyard, it's so nice to be able to share your wins with people and have them, you know, being able to latch on and help them, help other people. And again, that's kind of what we've found is the community that we've built here. And it's been absolutely fantastic. And that's what I'll say is, come join StreetText and be ready to share. Every single person that joins us has something to learn, but you also have something to add.
And you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I mean, so we advance courses too. We have, you know, Janky Patel, who's a moderator with LCA, and she's done about 50 deals from StreetText. And she's also an agent who has VAs and ISAs. So people looking for that type of action, you're like, I'm a team. I got all these people. I want to scale. That's Janky's for you. That'd be a good one to look at her follow up. If you're someone who's more of a, you know what, I'm just getting started, or I don't have the ability to get all these assistants and stuff. I am my own assistant. Well, then there's another example like Jennifer Salter, who also is averaging a deal per month with StreetText, but she's learned how to perfect her follow-up personally. And I think you have to have a healthy balance of both, because everybody has a path they're trying to reach. And with that being said, even in our insider group, we try to organize everybody's posts and materials so that you can glean a lot of information from it. So for example, we have about 60 testimonials in these last couple months here. And the beauty behind those testimonials is the comments underneath it that start coming back and forth on, you know, tell us how you did it. What'd you do? And all of a sudden, if you start reading the comments, you get a really clear idea that there's consistency in everybody's follow-up patterns. It's personal. There's the personal touch. So I know everybody's always looking for this perfect automated piece. I think you got to look at it from the angle of automations are great. They have the touch points, but your first week needs to be layered with personal touches. It has to really feel genuine and authentic, and then let your automations take over. If you do it on the opposite side, where you're just trying to do automation, and you just hope these leads convert, they're not going to. So that's where I'd say, like, figure out this perfect combination. We'll help rally alongside with you and show you some different examples. And if that type of thing excites you, then StreetText is a fit. If not, then I would say, you know, keep spending money at the bottom of the funnel, probably.
Awesome. Yeah. And again, it's not for everybody, right? I'll tell you this right now, guys, and StreetText is one of our favorite people that we work with. If you want to make one phone call and have a closing, don't work with StreetText. It's not going to happen. That's not what this is about. This is learning about how to build relationships. And that's the beauty of it. And think about it. That's theoretically what Facebook is, right? It's a place where we build relationships, where we get to interact with each other. This is just an extension that's more specific about this. I wanted to ask you guys this, because I think we talk about it almost every single time, but it's important enough that we talk about it again. Logan, you said this, it's all about video. So share for a second why it's all about video, because so many people are extremely resistant to video.
So video is one thing that I was ridiculously hesitant to do personally. And I'll just share my own personal example. Markus and I have basically we don't like to call ourselves salespeople, because that's not really what we do. We guide people along, we help them. I know it sounds cheesy, but it's actually true. But either way, we do calculate our numbers. And I'd say him and I have been neck and neck since day one from the get-go. And this was about 4 years ago, I would say. He started doing all these video reach outs and video this and video that. And I just said, absolutely not. I didn't even want to get on webinars. And all of a sudden I was looking at, you know, him on the top of the mountain going like, what am I doing wrong? And I'm not doing anything wrong. I didn't adapt. I wasn't doing anything different. And so now doing video, we're back to where we need to be. And the way I like to put this is, like you said on the first start, Brian, is nobody in the history of time has ever woken up in the morning and said, hey, honey, let's sell our home. Let's get on Facebook. Absolutely not. They're in the investigative stage, right? So they're clicking on ads. They're clicking on stuff. The second they clicked on your ad, Facebook's algorithm goes, oh, okay, Brian Curtis clicked on this ad. Maybe we should show him these other ads. So every single time I get a lead, I automatically assume 5 to 10 other agents got their hooks in that same individual at the exact same time.
Great.
Do I know that? No. But is it safe for me to assume? Absolutely. How am I going to set myself above and apart from these other individuals? Maybe I'm an award winner. Maybe I've done all these things. Great. Do you think people are choosing their agent based on how many awards you won last year? Probably not. Those are vanity awards, in my view. I mean, they're great. I'm not saying anything bad on anybody who wins awards. Fantastic. Keep up. That means you're doing well, right? All that is a reflection of your work. It's not a sales tactic. It's not, hey, I won all these awards. You should use me as your agent. No, people choose their agent based on the fact of, do they feel they're trustworthy? That's number 1, 2, and 3 in my view. Do I like this individual? Do I feel that this individual has my interests in mind? Right? So if I write the most well-worded, eloquent email ever known to mankind, but it's written down on a piece of paper with no personality, nothing behind it, now what's going to stop somebody else who's maybe less eloquent from writing a similar email? They'll go on Fiverr and get it done for them. Now we're on par again. We're exactly the same. I have not set myself above and beyond, even though I feel I'm a better agent, or I feel I'm more eloquent, or whatever. It doesn't matter. We're the same. Whereas there's no way to replicate my video, the way that I present myself, the way I speak, the way you feel you can trust me. Or on the opposite side, you look at me and go, I don't like them. Fine. It's going to be the same person that shows up at your door to do the listing appointment. So if you don't like me in my video now, you're not going to like me then. And I'd rather know now rather than later. So I like to just, again, straight from the get-go, genuine, right? You don't have to be cheesy. You see other people doing videos that you're like, oh, that's cheesy, I would never do. Then don't do that. And the whole thing is, whoever you are, if as long as you stay true to that and you are genuine, you're going to push some people away from you. That's fine. They weren't going to be your clients anyway. You're going to bring in the clients who feel that they've already met you, know you, like you, and trust you. And if every agent is now doing video, you're still not on par, because the way I would view the different videos are going to be in line with who I want to work with. It's so important. And I would say 3 years ago, you could have got away without it. Today, you're pushing a very, very, very big boulder up a very steep hill. Can you still close deals without video? Absolutely you can. Absolutely you can. Does it make it harder? Oh yeah. Video makes everything easier in my opinion.
Cool. So before it looks like Markus has some. Before you do that, I want to let everybody know that StreetText offers a free 7-day test, for lack of a better way to do it. It's a free account. Please take the opportunity to do that. And one of the things that I think is great, and we have a couple of questions we need to answer, but even in that free 7-day trial, you can talk to someone like Markus or Logan. In other words, you'll literally get someone to coach you through this. One of the things that I say all the time is, boy, if I just knew how to do this, then I can implement it. And that's what this is about, because, you get a 30-day trial. We've all done it. Hey, I got a 30-day trial for this thing. And then all of a sudden you look at your credit card and realize that, oh gosh, we got charged for this thing. I never even bothered to use it. And I don't know how to use it. Screw it, I quit. So this is a huge opportunity to get trained from clearly guys. I mean, you're listening to these guys, the things they're talking about, how they do it. It's really great. Now, let me just put a little caveat on there. They're not going to pay for your ads. They will give you their system for free for a week, but you're going to have to pay for your own ads with that in mind. So another question we had is, and I can't find it, but I read it earlier, was talking about the integrations with HomeBot and Zapier and how those play together. And so if you might just talk about that real quick, because somebody did ask a question.
Yeah, we have this brand new integration with HomeBot, so that when your contacts filter into StreetText, with one click of the button, boom, they go right into your HomeBot. So it's for HomeBot users has been incredible. And anybody that doesn't know about HomeBot, check it out. So inexpensive. It's like $1 a day. Similarly, BombBomb is $1 a day. So when you're thinking about like masterful integrations, I would say those two in the United States are the biggest from my experience, especially for seller leads. It's just, again, learning how to communicate their value. So you don't buy integrations just to have them, you learn how to use them. And so to become masterful at the art of the Facebook lead generation solution, you come to a company like StreetText, And you get a feel, like sometimes I think we're overzealous to simply go right into lead generation and see how many leads you can generate. I think most people, I would say 99% of people come to StreetText to do that. And then they quickly realize they have to stop, turn off their ads for a second, and reimagine the process. And reimagining the process, you're taking the empathy of the homeowner, the buyer, the listing person, and you're starting to create automations and personal follow-up patterns that really bring your personality front and center and help that identify that you're not a sales guy anymore, as you are coming alongside them as a consultant to help them, to serve them, to be there for them, no matter what their goals are. Even if their goal is to sell 5 years from now, are you going to be there for them to help and serve? And I think if you can separate yourself as a go-giver in this time, especially, this is what I think we're all craving, whether we know it or not, authenticity. Like I could care, we're all going to have different values and different beliefs, and you know, whatever side on the political spectrum you are, but we'd rather have someone who's authentic and true to who they are. And I think Facebook is an excellent opportunity to have that. And so I'm a firm believer to also have complete transparency with the way you use your personal Facebook, because if you do that well too, and you're an influencer personally on Facebook, you have a healthy opportunity to connect with them personally on Facebook, because after all, that's where they got started, on their personal Facebook newsfeed. So understand that Facebook also can be used as a CRM for yourself if you learn how to use it properly. And Messenger is an excellent place for that. So, you know, there's a couple of those strategies I won't get too deep into, but for me, it's the most exciting place to be in this world right now, where we know this is where everybody's spending the most time. So if you can learn also how to spend your time wisely there, don't be the consumer of all that material like everybody else is and spend hours a day just digesting everyone else's material. How about you are the influencer so that the material they're digesting is healthy and good and authentic and genuine and everything that you want them to see. So you can point them to that light if you have all the buttons lined up.
Awesome. That's just so true, Markus. I mean, at the end of the day, if you plan on being out of the business in the next 30, 90 days, then yeah, StreetText isn't for you. But if you're someone who's looking at this, you know, and this is how I look at it, you know, do I plan on being in the business 6 months from now, 12 months from now, 24 months? Absolutely. So I could build that pipeline then, or I can build it now. And that's one of the beauties of StreetText is, you know, you end up being able to, in a very inexpensive way, build a database. And a database isn't just names and people, but it's people you've had conversations with, people you've provided value to. And how much better is it than when you call somebody who you talked to just a couple months ago, hey, I'm just checking in, versus every one of those first time, you know, phone calls. And we've all had those rough first time phone calls. We don't all want to make them, but you know, we build relationships with people and we can call them and talk to them. And who knows, sometimes we become friends with them, right? So at the end of the day, that's what this is about. It's about building something. It's not about the short term. It's much more about the long-term nurture and follow up. And it's a much better, in my opinion, it's a much easier and better way to do business.
You know, and I'll add to that really quickly. I think often the mistake people made, I've seen them make in a system like StreetText, is they continue looking in their leads coming in. They forget the leads that have, you know, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago. And I find that's the biggest mistake. You have to also set reminders and take notes and check in, you know, at least top of mind once a month. Stay top of mind. And sometimes with the personal touch every so often as well. To check in to see, you know, especially when the market has shifted. I mean, obviously, if someone were to look at their home's value at the beginning of this pandemic and how their home's value now, and you've been generating leads with StreetText since then, what an excellent opportunity that would be to go back and just throw some stats. Hey, did you know that there's been a 20% gain in equity in most homes at the moment? Would you like an updated market value?
Sounds like a good bomb video to me.
You know, it's even something exactly like that is, you know, many people last year who were considering selling their home have decided to hold off, right? Starting it with that way, starting coming from that place where I know where you are, kind of, I know what you were thinking, like I'm on your side. I know, yeah, I'm in your brain in a sense, I'm here to help you. But a lot of my clients who were holding off last year are now, you know, reaping the benefits of selling in a hot market. You know, you may have been hesitant to put your home on the market during these times, but you know, would you like to at least know where you stand now with a true market value? Let's start here. Let's solve for X. Why don't I come over? We'll do a quick valuation, whether you're ready to sell or not, no problem. But at least you know whether or not you've gained equity through all of this. We know that they have, so that's a good start.
Sure.
But that's kind of the idea.
And what a great conversation, whether that's a phone call, a text message, a video text, a bomb video. What a great way to start a conversation. Hey, I'm just reaching out to you. We've seen a massive increase in the market. I know you weren't interested in selling your house last year. You may not be interested in this year. That being said, I just wanted to feel like it's my job to, let you know what's going on. And I promise you, someone goes, wait, I can get an extra 50, 75, $100,000. And here's the other thing. We feel like, oh, we're I want you to tell me my house is worth $100,000 more. Why? Because maybe I didn't want to sell it, but I could use an extra 100K. And so we have this feeling oftentimes of, well, they told me no. Great. Just ask a different question and answer that question. Don't worry about, do you want to sell your house? Hey, would you like an upgraded thing? And, we talked about HomeBot and, I think it's $1 a day. Good point. That's a great way to stay in touch with people too. Hey, by the way, I just sent you a HomeBot report and I'm just following up. I noticed that according to that, your equity went up $40,000 in the last 12 months. So I just wanted to make sure that you were taking a look at that and see if you had any questions about it. Great. I'm bringing value.
And HomeBot right there, Brian, I think is one thing that we try to do is figure out what third-party tools and services are working well, and then figure out the angles, how to use them better. So for me, we didn't set up, and we have a direct API now where we could automatically set all of your selling clients up on HomeBot, but we didn't do it. And there's a very specific purpose. It's an upsell, right? And I'm not charging them any money, but I'm certainly upselling them. So basically when they come through now, they're offered two things. I can get you a preliminary report, or I can do you one better. I can set you up on this free service that'll update monthly and yada, yada, yada. Great. Now I can set them up on HomeBot, but I still have an upsell. I'm still gonna, what I like to call white knighting it, right? I like to swoop in and save them from a problem they didn't even know they were having, right? So I'll pop in and basically say, look, I set you up on this HomeBot report a few months ago, and here's what I'm seeing. I just don't know if the numbers it's spitting out are actually accurate based on what we're truly seeing in the market around you. And it's a phenomenally intelligent tool, but it's still, it's a product, it's a service, it's not a real person. So here's what I'd like to do. Why don't we do this? I'll come over, do a professional home valuation for you, and we can feed those numbers back into the HomeBot system so that on your next update, it's updating based on the number that we know is to be accurate, right? So you can still give them these free tools, but how do you use it to still leverage, what you have to offer? And it's still, you can give them HomeBot, you can give them all these things. You still need to get in that door, period. Regardless of all the fancy tools and bells and whistles you have, you need to get your feet in the door, period. So even if I'm offering them HomeBot, okay, HomeBot's great, but it's only as great as the number we first feed it. The number we first fed it, I don't think is accurate. Let's solve for that. Let me come over, solve this issue. Now HomeBot's going to be fantastic for you.
You know what? I mean, and getting your foot in the door, let's talk about what StreetText and Facebook lead generation really is. Digital door knocking, right? So you're now digitally door knocking though homes that, really have raised their hand and said, we could be sellers at some point in the future. Whereas if you were door knocking before, you were just introducing yourself and hoping you land on a home, but you get a lot of doors closed on you. So these doors, are open, but what do you have to say that's going to connect with them? And I think that's why video is such a massive integration now, because it is your opportunity to connect from an angle of respecting space and privacy, but being genuine in your ability to communicate, hey, I'm just here to serve, and communicate your value. And so, yeah, I know we're kind of nearing the end of this, but I wanted to quickly just show you one thing, just an example of what's possible here. And this is why you want to really, I think, rely on the StreetText community. So when you see, are you guys seeing my screen here? Yeah, we're good. Okay. When you see this, like this is Gene Bart's, I'm not going to play the whole thing, but this is the type of video we're looking for you to do.
Not sharing your sound.
Yeah, no audio, Markus.
No audio? Okay, 1 second here.
Yeah, you got to click that silly button that says share audio.
Where's that share silly button?
You have to stop sharing, and when you hit reshare at the bottom, there'll be a box you check.
While you're getting that
share
done,
sound. Got it.
While you're getting that done, everybody, I know we're getting to the top of the hour here. If you do have any last minute questions you want to quickly filter in, and we'll do our best to answer before we're done here, please do get your answers, queued up so we can do our best at answering all those before we have to end the session here. And Markus, if you're you got that done, let's see it.
100%. Okay, let me go back to the Google Chrome screen. Okay, now you guys see it?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. And play.
Hi, Richard. This is Jean with Bart's Realty. I wanted to thank you, first of all, for reaching out about the value of your home and for allowing us to get you this information here. I know you said you're just curious, and that's totally fine. It's very normal, especially in the market that we've got going on right now. And we wanted to make sure we got you the information that you needed, because whether it's right now, 6 months from now, even 6 years from now, we still want you to be able to make the best decision for you when it comes time to make that change. So I wanted to kind of take this opportunity to walk you through our process and show you what we do that's maybe a little bit different here. So as you can see on my screen, I brought up your home, and this is actually a report that I'm attaching to the email here so you can review all of this information yourself. And the first thing that you did when you started thinking about the value of your home was probably go check and see what the internet, specifically Zillow, thinks your home is worth, because really I think we all do that these days. So I was curious too and wanted to check out and see what they thought. So I popped over here to Zillow, and you can see that Zillow shows your home as a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, sold in 2019. They estimate right now at about 203, give or take. Now, what's interesting is this information up here, the square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms, it's not matching what I'm seeing in the records for your home. So it's the internet for you, but we'll kind of.
Anyways, I won't play the whole thing, but you get the idea of that personal touch, right? And so there is these natural, like, personal touches that if you show, and because here's the thing about BombBomb, you get screen recording, just like I'm screen recording here. So when you screen record, you have an opportunity to create a presentation. And if you can present why the internet's all over the place, and here's your interpretation of the value, and here's what you'd like to do for them moving forward to even get it more custom for them, there's your foot in the door. Awesome. There's the ability to get you a conversation in their home.
Perfect. So we got really two questions, and I'm going to read them at the same time because they're kind of together. You guys answer this. Have you seen a better response from personal? And then have you seen successful agents scale while remaining personal? So I'll let you guys play with those.
I think we know who Shane is too. He's Mr. BombBomb. Awesome. So yeah, for me personally, everything needs to be personal. I like to lead with, even like an automated video needs to come off as if it's personal, and the best automations seem like they were filmed specifically for you personally. We've got some really good examples. In fact, if you guys come in and join StreetText and you join our community, we have one from Stephen Dreyer. He's got one that's just phenomenal. It looks like he filmed it just for me, and it's built in as an automation, so it feels personal still. But I essentially don't think you can fully scale doing everything personally. I just don't think it's possible. If I got 10 leads today and I try to do 10 video CMAs, yikes, right? That's a tough slugging. But if I have an automation, and this is where I think it comes in, if I have an automated video that basically gives them their options, hey, I can do this or I can do this, let me know what you need, or even just give me some answers on your home. Now, if those 10 leads became 2 responses, now I can do 2 fantastic CMAs that are personal, where, like Jean's done in hers, you can actually go through the RPR report, understand that people want to come out of this feeling educated. They don't want to feel talked down to. And when you read through an RPR report by yourself, blind, without ever having either prepared one or done one, there's a lot of crazy info in there. So if somebody takes the time to quickly walk me through, hey, this is why we do it this way, this is what you need to see, I feel educated and empowered. So again, I think there's 2 components. Is you have to have strong automation, which is getting people to put their hand up so that you can filter to the people who are serious, and then be nothing but personal with them. That would be my recommendation.
I would agree with that. A little bit of a personal touch, and then an automation maybe that introduces them to HomeBot and what HomeBot reports are going to look like moving forward. So it's introducing them how to use that HomeBot report, all the great features within HomeBot, but using screen recording to do that. That would be an excellent way for them to get excited for what they're going to receive next from them on an automated standpoint.
And the ones that don't reply to my first one, I'm going to have a month 3 email with a video in it again. Hey, I never heard back from you in response or in regards to yada, yada, yada. I'd love to get you a home value, update. And lots has changed in the 3 months since you first requested it. And then they're back to step 1. Answer these questions and I'll start you with the video CMA, right? They don't get that personal response from me personally. until I've got a response to the automation. And then they only get personal replies from me that point forward.
Absolutely. And I love that, because to your point, if you're getting 100 leads a day, I'll exaggerate. There's no way you can sit down and do that. But you know what? Realistically, you're not going to get 100% response rate. That doesn't happen. So,
Yeah.
you know, you use, and this is something I've been saying now for years, and I think it's a really important concept for people to understand, use automation to start the relationship. And get it so that now it's just another way to say, get someone to raise their hand that they want to connect with you. A lot of people are trying to use automation to close. It doesn't work. And every once in a while it'll work. And that's the worst thing, because it'll work every once in a while. And now we start to, you know, rely on it. But automation and technology is to help us make those relationships. We still have to have relationships. We are still in the people business. So keep that in mind.
Right. And look at it like a filter, in that you have all these people, you know, clogging up the filter or jumping into the filter. They don't leave my filter until they've filtered down and told me they're ready. So I don't shake them out of the filter, right? They stay in the automation. They stay in there and they keep getting dripped on until they go, yeah, I'm ready. Now I take them out of the filter. Now they're a personal connection. Simple.
And one last thing before we close here. If you're having a problem with quantity of leads, then shift your budget so that you can focus on quality of follow-up. Right. I think if you're just generating way too many leads, then the problem is you're not going to give them the quality attention they deserve anyway. So lower your ad budget, focus on that one-on-one attention.
So I'm going to ask really another quick question that we saw. Is there a video explaining how HomeBot and Zapier work with that? Is that something that we can point somebody to?
Yes,
right.
we have.
So May, the answer is yes. It looks like you've asked that question a couple times. Sorry, we didn't get that answered for you. Yes, we do have videos that explain that. And then one other, who was the person with the great video? I want to write that name down. Someone said.
That's Gene Bartz.
Gene Bartz.
Gene Bartz, and you can find that in the insider group of Facebook.
Okay. So guys, I really appreciate it. I'll let you have any final thoughts, but I want to reiterate this. We've got a link both here in the chat and on the Facebook that will tell you how to get a free 7-day trial with a coach for StreetText. And I think that's great. And also you can watch the replay of this on YouTube, which I think there's been a lot of great stuff. I'm sure you could watch it several times and get lots of pieces of information. With that, I'll go over to you guys for final thoughts.
Yeah, my first, or I guess my final thought, first and final thought, I would suggest come try StreetText. Come give it a go. Even if you're not ready to launch your ads yet, not a problem. Come attend one of the live training sessions, meet your coach, work on your automations, work on the follow-up. Even if you need a week to work on the follow-up before you're ready to build ads, not a problem. Come and do that. Get yourself prepared till you're ready and you've worked with your coach. You got all your questions answered. We'll build you ads. We'll hit go, and you got time to test it. Make sure, again, test. If it works for you, great. You now know you found the platform for you. If it doesn't work, hey, no harm, no foul, right? You tested it. You got to test things to know whether it's going to work for you or not.
Mine would just be come and see. Tomorrow's Mastermind is an excellent place to do that. It's one thing to hear it from Logan and I, and we work at StreetText. It's another to hear it from the actual community. So come and see.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate you being here today. And I'll leave this final thought. I'm going to steal it from Shane, but it's more of a getting a community of like-minded people together. And that's really 100% what StreetText is. Take the opportunity. Being in the community itself is worth the cost of StreetText. Just so many great ideas, so many great people helping each other out. So thanks everybody for being here today, and appreciate everybody. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks, Brian.